Hi, everybody. So we're going to give this another shot. Unfortunately, the scheduled live that I used Ecamm to schedule gave me issues this morning, really frustratingly. So, okay, I think I'm live now. If you're here and you see me and you can jump in and you want to say hello, that would be cool. I'm going to go over here to my Facebook page. This is an amazing day. It's been over 5 years in the making. And yes, I am live. Okay, cool. So now I can see comments. I'm going to expand that and take that down. There we go. And you know what? I'm going to tag. There's Deidre. Hi, 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 hi. How are you, my friend? So it's been a crazy week and a lot going on. I am an entrepreneur once again. I'm no longer employed, which is actually ended up being an incredible blessing. I wasn't really expecting it, but I just have been feeling more and more like myself as the week's gone on, more and more like I'm sort of back to center and being able to, make my own decisions and be responsible for my time and all the things that, you could give up when you take a actual job job. So I loved what I did for a long time, but it was time for me to move on, and I am definitely excited about whatever the future holds. And there's a portion of what I'm going to read you today that I had forgotten. Honestly, I haven't read in a long time, but I'd forgotten I wrote, and I went in and read it to my husband Mark and said, holy wow, is this amazing or what, So, in case you haven't heard, which I doubt if you're a friend of mine, because I've been sharing the heck out of this, you're probably going to get sick of hearing about it for a while, but this is my full-time job now, so there you go. I wrote a book called Weathering the Grief Storm, Learning to Thrive Within Loss, and it's about the death of my husband, which you'll hear a little bit more about that in a minute. The sickness, death, my husband, and then me coming back to life after that. And I just thought I would read you a little bit out of it today. It's available on Amazon and also on Barnes and Noble, which is kind of cool. I'm hoping to be doing some live book signings if they will allow that at some point. Hi Tara, hi Renee, good to see you. I think Barnes and Nobles are actually open in some states even with masks. So I'll definitely let you know if and when I do that. But I thought I would read you part or all of the introduction today because it sort of shares the story of the book and why I wrote it and a little bit more too. So it's kind of weird because usually when I'm live on camera, I'm looking at the screen. And I said to Mark on our walk this morning, you think I should just like pull up the ebook and read it off my screen? Or should I read it from the book? And he said, well, I mean, you are reading from the book, so I'll look up if I can here and there. But hopefully you will enjoy this. And if you want to comment, let me know how it's going. That's cool too. Let me know what you're thinking, all that. Okay, so this is the introduction to the book. If you have picked up this book, there are a few things I need to tell you before you actually start the first chapter. I want to start by sharing why I wrote it, why it took me so long to write it, and what I hope you take away from it. This is a love story. It's written into 3 parts. Part 1 is the story of my relationship with my amazing husband, John. I'll tell you right up front, spoiler alert, that John dies halfway through the book at the end of part 1. So it's really the story of how our love got us through the most brutal part of our lives together, which ended up being the end of his life. If you're like me, you'll keep hoping against hope that somehow he won't actually die. It's just like every time I watch one of my all-time favorite movies, Apollo 13, they do that routine tank shake, and I'm hoping that by some miracle, there won't be an explosion and Tom Hanks will finally get to walk on the moon. As I worked my way back through the blog from which this book was born, in order to mine my story, as I say, I found myself in magical thinking, hoping that the story had a happy ending, even while knowing that there was no way that it would. The second part of the story is also a love story. It's the story of finding my way and loving myself through the brutal time after John died. I thought I was prepared for what would happen, since I'd had over a year to get used to the idea of life without him. We hoped for a miracle, but we're told from the beginning that stage 4 metastatic melanoma was a terminal cancer. I just never really believed he'd actually die. I honestly don't think he did either. Even before he died, As I shared our story through the blog I wrote, as much for my own processing and sanity as anything else, the seeds for this book were born. Everyone kept saying I should turn it into a book, and I agreed. Before John died, my standard answer to that suggestion was that I'd write the book once I had a happy ending. Of course, in my mind, that meant that John got his miracle and we lived happily ever after, as we'd planned to do when we married. I honestly could not imagine any other ending. Once he died, I realized I couldn't write the book from where I was because the story wasn't over. In many ways, it had really only just begun. I clearly wasn't getting my happy ending, and I had no idea where I'd go with the book if I did decide to write it. In many ways, I've been writing the story every day these past 5+ years since losing John, redefining my life and figuring out what a future without him would look like. In March of 2017, a year after he died, when I thought I was ready, I hired a book coach, my friend Jim House, the book carver. I flew to San Diego and fleshed out the bones of this book. I had every intention of completing it before the end of the year. And every time that I made a plan to start it, something kept me from taking action. This is very unlike me. I am an action taker by nature. Sometimes I act on an idea before the plan has even been created. It's made me a great entrepreneur, but when it came to writing this book, that drive and focus was nowhere to be found. The October deadline that I'd given myself came and went, and I hadn't even started writing. I now know that a book like this, outlining in great detail the worst time in my life, followed by a complete rebirth of me, can't be written in the middle of the grief brought on by those experiences. And while I realize I'll never stop grieving on some level for all of the loss John's death brought, I have finally come to the point where I'm ready to look at that time and what it taught me through a much less painful lens. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure much of this book will absolutely be written through a blur of tears accompanied by a pile of Kleenex on my desk, which it was, but I'm finally ready. So why would I want to put myself through the painful process of writing this book? What's the point? It's about sharing what I've learned and the coping mechanism that I inadvertently developed to get through the experience of watching my husband slowly die and then putting my life back together once he was gone. Part 3 of this book outlines a clear process that came out of that time in my life. I call it the Thrive process. Thrive stands for trust yourself, honor your feelings, remain present, invest in yourself, vow to act, and embrace the learning. The Thrive process helped me deal with the stress of caretaking for my husband through debilitating cancer treatments and the loss of our life as we knew it. It kept me sane through one emergency after another, nights spent on cots in his hospital room, and the agonizing moment when he took his final breath. It got me out of bed every morning after he died, when all I wanted to do was pull the covers over my head and give up. I want to share that process with you through our story together and through my own path alone, because I believe that it might help you get through any difficult time in your own life. That's the most important reason. There's also another one. I heard from hundreds of people while I was writing and sharing the blog. They told me that my ability to be raw and honest and to share those very private thoughts and feelings publicly had impacted their lives in a rich and powerful way. That's enough of a reason for me to want to share the whole story all in one place and with the perspective of the years after the day John died. If you or anyone who reads this book gains even a small appreciation for the gifts in your life because of our story, it's worth it. Finally, as I wrote the book, it dawned on me that it was more than a story about cancer, death, or even survival through devastating loss. The more I rose above my story to take on the detached narrator role, the more I saw huge similarities between my journey as an entrepreneur, my journey as a caregiving spouse, and then my journey as a grieving widow. There are huge lessons to learn from the roller coaster ride that I took with John that I've applied to my journey as an entrepreneur. What I've learned from this great shift in my life has given me the courage to totally embrace what I love to do. Slam the door on things I've done before that made me a great living but didn't light me up. And trust that whatever I allow to fall away will be replaced with something completely wonderful and perfect for me. And that this will happen even if I can't see a clear definition of what it is or how I'll get there. This has really become the message of this book. Trust where you are right now. Embrace everything without labeling it as good or bad, and keep moving forward no matter what. It works when you're stressed, when you're devastated by loss, when you feel lost and like you don't know who you are, let alone which step to take next. And when you know in your heart and soul that you're meant for something different than you're experiencing right now. It gives you the courage to embrace every moment of your current experience and to move faithfully, if not confidently, in the direction in which you are being pulled. I'm excited to share that journey with you. I hope you're excited about taking it with me. We'll go through it together, and if all goes as planned, come out the other side changed in amazing ways we never expected when we started out in Chapter 1. Buckle up. Let's do this. So I should add to that list, it also works when you lose your job or when you leave your job, because it has. And I feel better today than I have in months. And now I get to add published author to my list of accomplishments, which feels amazing. So the book is called Weathering the Grief Storm, Learning to Thrive Within Loss. I would love it if you are interested, if you head over and order it on Amazon. The links are, there's actually a link to the website, which my beautiful, amazing, talented stepdaughter, Chelsea Clark, did for me. And there's a link on that website for you to purchase the book, as well as a lot more information about the book itself. And most importantly, if you read it, please, please, please come back to Amazon and write me a brief review. It doesn't take long, and it makes a huge difference as far as that whole weird bestseller, Amazon bestseller game that we've started playing today. So that's it. Let's see. I got to see what people are saying here. Never sick of it. Super cool. Okay, so I don't know how many people are even here today, but if you're watching, I appreciate you joining me. This is a pretty stellar day in my life for sure. And I am very excited about getting this book out into the hands of everyone who needs it. I feel very strongly that it's going to be a heavily gifted book. I hope it is. In other words, people will be buying it for the people in their lives who are suffering the loss. And one of the testimonials on the website is actually from a recent widow who, in essence, said, I've read several books that didn't really help me, and this one has totally changed my life. Her name's Tara Wild, actually, and we were just communicating via email right before I came on. I've kind of, we're building a friendship out of this weird shared loss that we have. But that was one of the greatest testimonials I could get, because what I want more than anything is for this book to make a difference in the lives of everyone it touches. So I'd love for you to read it. I'd love for you to write a review, and I'd love for you to gift it to anybody you know who is struggling with any kind of loss and needs a little bit of encouragement. That's it. Hey, Megan. Oh, love you too. Thank you so much. Hi, Shauna. Love, love, love you. It's so fun to see all my friends. I do have a business page for the book, but there's only about 400 fans there, and I thought I'm going to do this on my personal page because it is really personal, and everybody on this list anyway, and most of you, if you're watching this in replay, oh wow, my bruise is really showing on it. Yeah, this is from my second vaccine shot. They hit a vein. Anyway, all of you guys came through this journey. Some of you knew me before I ever met John. You went through our courtship, our marriage, his illness and death, and then what happened after, and of course my amazing husband, Mark, who John told me he was going to send me the perfect person. And he absolutely came through with that promise. So that's it. I hope you guys are having an incredible day. Hit me up. Please tell me your personal stories if you do read the book. I really, really want to connect with everybody who's in on this project and find out what you think. Thanks, you guys. Have an incredible day. Hey, Dana. Look, it's good to see you guys. I will be around. Take it easy. Bye-bye.